Shills,
Overwhelmed,
haters.
underwhelmed. Why isn't anyone ever just whelmed?
After Star Citizen's biggest info drop of the year, many fans are feeling whelmed. And honestly, that's new. It's not that CitizenCon Direct was bad. The next star system will be in-game in a month. Players will get their hands on crafting at the end of the year. The latest planet tech is changing the game in visuals, and it sounds like in minables as well. And the next year is filled with a ton of spaceflight and FPS-focused content, and the first interactable alien species in-game. This event, for the first time in CIG's history, actually felt realistic. It was a look at Star Citizen right now, not potentially in a year, or more likely in 4 or 5. After seeing hype-filled feature showcases every year, 2025 gave us a sobering look at where Star Citizen is at the moment, and some of what to expect from it in 2026. As we've already covered a few times this year, they are now focused on selling the experience more than the dream. And today I'm going to show you why that's the case and what it includes for the next 12 months. Thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk. To say CitizenCon Direct was a disappointment isn't to say it was bad. It was a phenomenal showcase of something more realistic, more honest, and more focused squarely on the next 12 months. A true direct experience, closer to something you'd expect from Nintendo, who invented the format. And that's telling. While I can show you proof that several significant features will likely reach players' hands within the next year, that clearly wasn't their focus. Going into the event, most of us had accepted that this would be the most honest look yet at how Star Citizen is being handled in the shadow of Squadron 42. Would we get a big dose of news after a long silence in feature development, or more of the same content focus? It's pretty clear what the event gave us. Until more development time turns towards the persistent universe, the features that push the game towards 1.0 will continue moving forward, yes, but at a slower pace than anyone would like. Crafting may squeak into a basic test build by the end of the year, but other key systems, social apps, scanning, base building, savable map markers, advanced quantum travel, refining, they didn't appear at all. That says a lot about where the priorities still lie. So for those who loved the feature development era, the folks who thrived through the 3.x cycle of updates, this CitizenCon felt kinda disappointing. That much was clear in my recent conversation with 10#42. But if you've been enjoying the 4.0 era starting here in 2025, the age of storylines, regular content deliveries, new factions, weapons, ships, sandbox activities, and mission chains, this event offered some exciting insights into the rest of 2025 and into 2026. Many players walked away excited for the next star system, Nyx, for new mission loops, fleet battles, refugee crisis scenarios, the first test of crafting, Planet Tech V5, and a lineup of new ships and weapons. But more than that, this event gave people, myself included, a renewed confidence in the company. For years, CitizenCon presentations mixed realistic near-term goals with far-off dreams, sandworms, base building, server meshing, AI piloting ships, pyro, the whole journey to 4.0, player-made space stations, and base building again. Those were exciting, but they felt more like looks at the long-term direction for most players than what was actually going to be playable next year. 2025 is different. CIG finally feels confident that they've built enough of a game that the experience can sell itself, not the dream. Less hype, more measurable iteration, more quantifiable progress. It's the culmination of a years-long trend towards more professionalism from this company. The end of concept ship sales, the shift in trailer tones, the tighter control of public messaging, all of them signs of a maturing company. While that change disappoints some, it also reassures many people who I think are looking for more solid ground. People are walking away from these events not blown away, not let down, just simply whelmed. And in a world addicted to extremes, that actually might be the healthiest outcome possible. But not everything went perfectly. Some of the announcements definitely introduced new questions. So let's talk about what worked and what didn't. The biggest success of this CitizenCon was CIG cashing in on the precedent they've been setting all year. From the fight for Pyro to the Hathor facilities, finally to the ASD Underground, they've delivered regular, narrative-focused content drops. unique item tie-ins, in-game rewards, faction reveals, and mission chains. CitizenCon has always been bittersweet for backers because for years CIG failed to prove they could deliver on those big promises. The new tech, huge features, and world-changing updates. While those are finally starting to land now, 2025 has been their chance to flex their narrative and content abilities, now that most of Squadron 42's work is behind those teams. So when CIG opens with a new star system based around a landing zone that players have already visited and fills it with storylines, factions, weapons, and events not unlike what they've already been doing all year in 2025, it's feeling more believable. Backers can imagine playing this content within a year, unlike ever before. If CIG turns that realism into a positive feedback loop, they win. There were also some smaller details I think made this event stronger than if they weren't in there that did break away a little bit from the content focus. There was confirmation of near-term mining updates following the Nyx edition, a surprise look at the new inventory interface, which was actually concept art only 2 months ago. A quick mention that capital ships will soon start rearming and refueling smaller ships inside of them, and even the reassurance, albeit brief, that everything planned for 1.0 is still in the pipeline. These touches reached out to the industrial-focused folks, and even some of the feature-focused folks, and showed a conscious effort to balance the audience even though the clear focus is obviously on the content coming. And then there was the planet tech. CIG knows its strengths. Planet generation is definitely one of them. There's a lot to say about where things are going with planets, and I'll have a full video on that soon for you in the next coming weeks. But that was definitely a good highlight of the show. But the show wasn't perfect either. Everyone has opinions on what was missing. The silence around long-promised systems is getting loud. Interaction updates, wear and tear, quantum travel, EVA, engineering, control surfaces, these are things we've been hearing about for years, some of which we saw at CitizenCon 2023. Still, nowhere to be found. We know they're being worked on, we read the monthly reports, but players want visibility. That era of open feature development may be fading, but CIG still needs to address that silence if the preview channel doesn't start showing activity soon on some of these features like scanning, engineering, and quantum travel. The other shortcoming I'll admit is pretty subjective. This didn't feel like a CitizenCon. It was an Inside Star Citizen Direct, and honestly, that's a great format, one I'm sure many would be happy to see replace CitizenCon until 1.0 launches, but it should still have its own name so expectations are clear, I think. And finally, I do think the lack of a gameplay demo hurt. This game can sell itself better than any tech or feature presentation if people could just see it in motion. For nearly a decade, the public has mostly seen glitch montages, article headlines, and pictures of the ship store. There's so much impressive gameplay that you can actually show now that could potentially change minds. It may not be worth the time for them, but I do think if CIG wants to keep pushing this more professional and reasonable image about the company and the game moving forwards, more digestible gameplay showcases make sense. The Star Engine demo, Squadron 42 gameplay, and trailer releases are all pretty clear signs of that. Perception is the key to Star Citizen's future. I talked about this for over an hour with Luke Stevens recently on the podcast this past week, and we both agreed. Star Citizen is uniquely positioned for massive success, but CIG has to manage the public perception over time. The release of Nyx is a perfect chance to start doing exactly that, but we'll have to see if they can stick with this direction. Throughout this video, we've seen how CIG has embraced this more whelming behavior we've seen from CitizenCon Direct. The end of JPEG concept sales, the focus on selling an experience rather than expectations of future features. The willingness to adopt and introduce ideas to work in tandem with the tech they've created to continue building something unique. There's this sense that Star Citizen is injecting more realistic expectations into its plans. And with things like instancing becoming a more regular possibility throughout the game, players are kind of worried the overall format of the game is changing quickly. It's possible. Star Citizen is clearly positioned as a more welcoming and mainstream experience on PC than it used to be, and Squadron 42 is likely headed to game consoles at some point. Combined with the increased attention and scrutiny that the game itself has been getting, it's true CIG may be swinging for a more mainstream audience. This all may be happening later than many would hope. But the company does seem to be maturing into something that's more stable and better at managing expectations and communication, even if they still make some pretty big mistakes with them. A lot of the more unpredictable tasks are out of the way. The background database, the server mesh structure, planetary technology, AI advancements, the replication layer. All these things that were experimental are finally driving the actual content the game is thriving on now, surpassing last year in funding by almost 50% so far. They have found a flow here that seems to be working well, but nothing lasts forever, and they need to get the features added so that they can find that same flow in a post 1.0 world. Star Citizen has always been known for big budget, big names, a big timeline. In my opinion, it's nice to see them finally promising at least a near-term outlook that feels relatively smaller. As long as that preview channel starts giving players things to test, I'm happy this CitizenCon Direct left me feeling perfectly whelmed. Thanks for watching this video to the end. I hope it's clear that while I may be disappointed by the lack of news on things I cared about, what I care about isn't necessarily what's most important. More so, we don't know a lot of what's going on in the company, clearly. The open development mantra has changed, and so too must our expectations. While I'm excited for the next 12 months of development, I'm still largely unsure of what they hold, but I do feel pretty confident about where things are headed. I'm interested in hearing how you feel on the far side of CitizenCon Direct though, and where you think things are headed down in the comments below. As always, if you're interested in more, check out the rest of the channel, and if you wanted to catch any of the other referenced videos or podcasts in this video that you can catch over on Space Tomato 2, my second channel, check the relevant links down below. Thanks again for watching this till the end. I hope you learned something new in this video, and I'll catch you in the next.